The question of scale, it really comes down to, in my opinion, what should society look like? How big should it get? Who gets to rule? How do we make sure that everyone has a voice, or is it possible for everyone to have a voice? As Dr. Livingston discussed this week in the video, it really comes down to divisions for political order. Aristotelian view, where government or political order is natural to man, spontaneously occurs, and then there's the Hobbesian view, that's where it says political order is not natural, it's the work of will, it's created, it is artificial. Aristotle, who believed it should be a small republic, no more than maybe 300,000 people. You have Althusius, who believed in more of a medium-sized groups joining into a federation, but it can't be too large. You have David Hume, who believed in small republics but understood that they could be overwhelmed by large centralized states, and so that they should federate into a larger polity. Then you have Thomas Hobbes, who believed in a large regime, the larger the better. It's tough to come to an agreement because so many different schools of thought have believe that there is a certain size that a republic or state should be. At first, Athens was just the right size, 300,000 people, great culture. They gave us Aristotle, they gave us Plato, they gave us Socrates. So there is the notion or thought that if a republic gets too big, it begins to fold into itself and become an empire. And so they use Rome as an example. At first, they were the Roman Republic, and as they conquered and expanded, they welcomed those they conquered into their Roman citizenship, and thus eventually had a population over 1 million people and became an empire. So you can see that there are just multiple schools of thought as to how a society can scale. On the other side, you have the Hobbesian view, where political society should be very large. And without the coercive power of government, the natural condition of people would be anarchy. And as a result, to escape that, they form a compact where they give up absolute power to a central authority. Within that debate, I think, is where the main questions of scale really find their place. How do we maintain political order as a society grows, big or small? And within each society, how do we have a government that manifests itself to the betterment of the majority of the people? And the French Revolution takes place, and you have them calling themselves a republic, but within a large state. But that small Aristotelian tradition would say that once you become too large, you fold into an empire. In America, how big should this government be? You have Federalists who wanted a stronger national government. They felt that was necessary and not a threat to liberty at all. They wanted a representative and not a direct democracy. They didn't want too much government, but they didn't want too much democracy either. There had to be that central authority to protect against tyranny by government and by the people. And then you have the anti-federalists, supported the common people, less need for national government. The last thing they wanted to do was go back into a situation like they just came from with Great Britain. They were afraid that the wealthy would dominate too much of government, and it would be like an empire. The Federalists favoring a constitution, establishing a strong central government, anti-federalists opposing it. Federalists opposing or favoring limiting state power, anti-federalists wanting stronger state power. The Federalists believed that a large republic was the best way to protect individual freedoms, while anti-federalists believed that a small republic could protect rights. So you have this back and forth. With scale comes the question of national versus local, small versus big. That starts to happen, or if a state gets too big, secession, as the Livingston article, the very idea of secession mentioned, can begin to separate in order to maintain the proper size. Every time the question of scale comes up, who's going to be represented? How do we represent them and give everybody a voice? In America, obviously, we have the House of Representatives, voted on by population, the Senate, 2 senators per state. As a country grows, as a society grows, how does government run to impact and help the larger number of people? And so that is a tough question to answer. With the question of scale comes the question of liberty, comes the question of protecting rights, comes the question of how will government shape the future? What will it look like in a society as it grows? And so the debate will continue.